Hi, my name is Kelly, and I am a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach. I am excited to share with Pearl today.
Hey everybody, it's Pearl Chiarenza with another episode of Conversations with Pearl. I'm so excited to bring you our guest today because her energy when I first met her, every time, I don't always get to meet everybody in person, but even like through the Zoom recording, it's such great energy. So sit back, get a cup of tea, or if you drink coffee, you can get coffee too, or whatever is just going to put a little pep in your day. I want to introduce you to my special guest, Kellie Rymes. She's a confident, bald woman who has overcome her own struggles with hair loss to help other women facing similar challenges. She's a certified transformational practitioner, and through her coaching program, Limitless Mindset Coaching, she guides women in building their confidence and embracing their hair loss. She has personally experienced this transformative power of building herself up and has learned to let go of negative self-talk and fears about how others perceive her. Kellie now walks with confidence and receives compliments and admiration from strangers. She is dedicated to helping other women feel free and empowered to be their authentic selves. I am so excited to have you here today, Kellie. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so much fun. And I mean, you guys, if you're listening to us, if I could just describe this beautiful woman who has this amazing smile, who happens to not have hair as well. I mean, just that's the first thing I see about you, Kellie. But I can imagine as we go through our story today, that's not always been that case for you. And I'm excited to walk into that journey with you today and share. But I do this with every episode now. It's something new I've done. And so the readers are starting to get used to this, I think. But when we were younger, we had these aspirations and these dreams about what I want to be when I get older. When I grow up and live the adult world, I want to be, the president of the United States, a firewoman, whatever those things may be for us. What was Kellie's aspiration when she was little, and how does it parallel to what you're doing today?
Oh, okay. So I have two answers for this question. When I was like in kindergarten, I wanted to be a firewoman. So that was what I wanted to be. But of course, I didn't know anything about what that entailed, right? But as I got a little bit older, maybe in junior high, high school, I always envisioned myself as like some type of marketing person. I'm in a boardroom, I'm giving a presentation. Like I always envisioned myself doing something like that. It was always going to be in business in some form or fashion.
And look at you today. Like you have this business and you're teaching and you're educating. This is so cool. It's kind of like for me too. It's interesting. I said firewoman, and here that was one of your thoughts too. But
Uh-huh.
like for me, even growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. I always said I wanted to be an elementary school teacher, and I never really went down that path because I didn't have the opportunity and the guidance on how to get there. But here
Right.
I am today, full circle. I'm teaching and coaching and doing the things that I love to do and helping inspire and empower other women. So I think it's so amazing. So tell us your journey. Give us an idea of like when did you start, at what point in your life did the hair loss start happening for you?
Mhm.
And then also tell us like how was reaction, not just for you, but like those around you? How did they support you?
Oh, okay. Well, I actually started losing my hair in my late 20s. And it probably, I'm sure, started before then. I just noticed it at that point because by the time I noticed it, it was like a little pea-sized bald spot at the crown of my head. And so I'm like, okay, don't know what this is about. But in my mind, I'm like, well, let's just take care of my hair. Let's nourish it. Maybe it's a product. Maybe I'm pulling on it too much. Let's figure it out and it'll grow back in. But that just did not happen. And I went through a long time of denial. That something was really, really going on. It even took me a long time to go to a dermatologist to say, hey, what's happening here? Right. That's how much in denial I was in, right? So what was the second part of your question? I think I forgot.
No, you're fine. So as you were doing that, like you said, because it's often we do that. Let's talk about how you were like, let me, nourish my hair. We often do that. We don't look at signs sometimes of things that are happening, like especially like somebody who may have autoimmune or even like cancer. Sometimes breast cancer. Like we as women, like we feel or see something, and we're like, oh, it's probably no big deal. We don't follow up on it, right?
Right.
So you were trying to do this nourishing, and you're doing what? At what point did you say, Kellie, this is more than I think it is, and I need to go get help?
Oh, so it was to the point to where a lot of my hair at the crown of my head, let's just say if you can look at my fist, maybe it was getting like that. Like it was either balding or it was really, really thin in the area. And there were other spots on my head, like on the side that I was noticing getting thinner and thinner. So I'm like, okay, let me go to the dermatologist. It's time. And when I went, basically, he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, I don't have to really do anything else. You have scarring alopecia." And I'm like, "What is that?" All of these things. But he really didn't give me a lot of information at that time. I didn't know anything about alopecia. I didn't know what the process was. He didn't do like any testing or anything on me. He was just like, I have seen this in so many women, especially African American women, because the type of scarring alopecia I have is the acronym is CCCA. And that form of scarring alopecia is predominantly in African Americans due to the styling practices and the hair care products that we were using in the past. Uh, Basically, we didn't know that it was damaging our scalps, our hair, all of that thing. So he was like, I've seen this a lot. There's nothing you can do about it. Right. And I'm just like, okay. Like again, at that point, I'm pretty sure like 30, early 30s. So I'm like, well, what do I do with this information? Right. In my mind, I'm like, okay, well, he's telling me this. So my next step is get some hair transplants. Let's go down that route. Let's see, what we could do. Went down that route to see if I could be a candidate. And I was told, no, I can't get hair transplants because of the type of alopecia I have. Basically, if they were to transplant the hair to the area that was missing hair, it would just fall back out. The follicles would just die. So I would be wasting my money. So they were like, no, that's going to be a waste of your money. Don't suggest this. I said, okay, now what do I do? Now I'm going to just cover it up. I'm just going to continue to just cover it up because that's what I've been doing. And there you go. Now back to the friends and support though. My friends and close family, now, a lot of people didn't know. So let me make sure I say that. The only people that really knew in my family were my mom and my sister. My close friends knew, but that was it. So they were very, very supportive, especially my friends. They were telling me all along, just cut it off. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But there was a point where I had to cut it off because of a hairstyle I got, and it took my hair out. I had a bad reaction to the product that the stylist used in my hair, and it just totally took my hair out. And I had to, in one day, shave my hair off bald. And I was not prepared to do that. But they were there to support me. They stayed with me the entire day. One of my friends called his barber, had him close the shop down and clear everybody out so I can go in and he could really, shave my hair off so that I could be comfortable. The support I received was just amazing. So I can't say much more about it. It was awesome, but I just didn't feel good. I did not feel good about myself. I was insecure. I didn't know what to do. I just was like, okay, I guess I have to continue to hide. I was wearing wigs, did not know in the beginning how to even buy a wig, a quality wig. I mean, it was in my late 20s, early 30s. I don't know anything about wigs.
Right.
And wigs definitely weren't the quality that they are now, right? So I had to go down that journey as well of figuring out how to buy a wig, what looks good, and all of the things that comes with having a wig. So
So
yeah,
as you're sharing that story, I was like, I pictured in my head like your family that was the support system. It's so important in our life that we have the right support system. We talk about my friend Lisa and I would talk about having the right people on your balcony, right? The people that are going to surround you, support you. And I could just like you were painting the picture, and I could see your friend. Like I got chills seeing your friend like picking up the phone call and being like, I want to give my friend, Kelly, a comfort. So I'm going to call my friend at the barber and be like, can you help us do the like to go that extra mile? That's the kind of people you want on your balcony. You want that support because this is a huge change for you. Like and in some regards, you had no control over it. Like you said, all of a sudden you went and you had this product and you had a complete, like everything shifted, like immediately because the product was, it had bad reaction to it, like you're sharing. And to have that support system, like to have that, I think that's important. And how important has that been? Because I know, one of the questions so for the listeners, one of the questions I ask is about sharing your Shiro journey and how you've been able to put your self-care first in that journey and what that means to you. And I know
Mhm.
you talked about how your mindset's shifting. So how did your support system help that mindset shift happen for you?
Well, first, them telling me that I'm still beautiful, because that same, scenario I just gave you, the story I just shared, we had to go on a cruise the next day. Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, oh my goodness, not only did I have to shave my hair off all of a sudden, I'm going on a cruise with a lot of my friends. It was a big group cruise. It was people I knew and did not know. Okay, here we go. But on that cruise, they just kept reassuring me that you look beautiful. You should, keep it like this. It's fine. And they gave me all of the kind words, all of the supportive words, everything. They were there with me side by side. Even if people were looking at me and staring at me, they were there with me. And we were, making sure I was okay. I couldn't have asked for much more. That's how important a support system is, because when I say my self-esteem was shot, it was shot. Oh my gosh. I did not even want to go on the cruise. It was too late to cancel, of course. It was the next day, but I'm like, what am I going to do? But they just lifted me up so much. That's how important it is. You always have to have people who are in your corner. Now, I'm not going to say they have to always say, oh, and give you all this positive praise and, go along with everything. If there's something that you're doing that they're like, hey, you need to cut it out or you need to correct that. That's what a friend is supposed to do. That's part of your support system, good and bad, right? So yeah, I'm definitely blessed that I had a good group of people, and I still have these people in my life today.
That's awesome. I was envisioning going, oh my gosh, here I am. You have to grasp the fact that you now have no hair. You have to grasp the fact that do I, you don't even have a chance to think about getting a wig because like you're leaving the next day. Like you said, well, you can't just go out and grab any old wig, right? And so then not only you're going, with friends like and people that in a big group, but then you're also I'm thinking, I'm thinking for that person who having that so fast, like bam, 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 that happened. And then you're also on a cruise ship with people you don't know. Like we always have this thing about what are people going to think or say about me, right? Even the people that like you don't know. I remember my mom, when she would come visit us, I remember my mom, she she would tell me whenever she wouldn't go, she'd get her hair color when she'd come here to visit me. I'd take her to my stylist and my stylist would do her hair for her. And she would be like, I remember one time she says, well, I have to go and get the hair dye at the store. I'm like, why are you doing that? You're getting your hair colored as soon as you get here, like in a couple of days. Angela's not gonna be able to do your hair. Well, people on the plane are gonna see me. I'm like, who gives a crap? And I'm like going, they're never gonna see you. They don't know who you are. I'm like, Ma, sometimes I get on an airplane in my PJs because I didn't sleep the night before, but I want to be comfortable on the plane because I'm the girl that goes to sleep next on the plane immediately before it takes off, right?
Hmm.
And she's
Hmm.
like, but I'm like, who cares? But we do care. Like,
Yeah.
but people do get wrapped up around that. And, I'm sitting there thinking, well, I mean, you guys, if you're not on YouTube, Kellie just has this shoot, you just exude this confidence, right? But I can imagine that confidence was waning for you when you were going through this, right? Because it's something new. I remember I interviewed somebody before and she talked about how she was always wearing a wig.
Hmm.
And then one day she's in the car dropping off her girls to school and she was like, oh my God, this wig is so hot. I feel like I got sweat coming off. She just like took the wig off and her
Hmm.
daughter in the back, I don't quote me, but her daughter said something like, oh, can I just take my hair off, mommy? And it hit her that I need to stop wearing these wigs because this is not the example I want to give to my daughters,
Yep.
and she that's when she stepped into being this beautiful woman of no hair, and
Hmm.
so for you, I can just imagine like bam, bam, bam going into that. Like, what did you have to do? Because, when I coach women, one of the things that they sometimes come to me is that they have this doubt of self-care. They have this doubt of putting myself first. They're either a people pleaser, they're a controller, all these judging, sabotaging thoughts come into their head. How do you what did you do to start stepping into this? I mean, I know a great support system is amazing, but we
Right.
still have to do inner work. Like
Oh, yes.
we can have the biggest support system. I mean, let's look at, people that are addicts. They have the biggest support system, but it's really it's our choice to make a
Mhm.
decision on how we want to live. So, what was a pivotal piece for you that said, I'm going to embrace this? I'm not going to, like you said, the wigs were nothing like they are today.
Mhm.
I'm gonna embrace this. This is now becoming part of who I am. Like, what was that work you had to do to, like, it doesn't happen overnight?
No, 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 no. So actually, it took me years. And when I say years, even after the point to where I had to cut my hair off the first time, I thought, well, let me just wear it like this and see if I can get comfortable. So that lasted maybe a month and a half. It was summer. I was like, okay, I'm doing this, but I couldn't. I couldn't because I did not feel comfortable. I was just so insecure. Like I said, I felt like everyone was staring at me. They were giving me nasty looks. I had all negative coming towards me because that was how I felt about myself. And it may not have been that negative. It probably was all in my head. I'm sure it was. But that's how I felt. So let's fast forward. And I'm going to fast forward at least probably 7 years. From that point, I wore wigs. I did not come out without a wig or some type of extension, something that blended and covered up the thinning or the bald spots. That is the only way I came out the house, right? So we fast forward into I'm living now in Arizona. I had moved. I had gotten married. My husband had passed away. So it was like, oh my goodness, I had all of these things that had happened. I am back by myself. I'm in Arizona. I don't have family there. And I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to just figure it out. I really am. I'm like, okay, do I want to go back to St. Louis because that's where I'm from? That's where my friends and family are. Do I want to stay here? Do I want to go to another city? What do I want to do now with my life? Because I don't know now. This is not the plan. So I really had to do some inner work on myself. I had to go down the journey of go ahead and saying, okay, it's time to embrace this. It's time to accept it. I'm tired of wearing the wigs. So let me rewind again. I'm in Arizona. I'm wearing a wig. It's hot, right? It's hot. So it was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to present myself exactly who I am. Because even with the wigs, I was insecure because now I'm thinking, does this wig look right? Do people know I'm wearing a wig? Which, yeah, of course they do. But still, I think it was at the point where people were wearing wigs, but it wasn't as trendy or as popular like it is now. Like now it's nothing. You can have a wig on and people can care less. Then it wasn't really like that. It was still that, that phase of, why is she wearing a wig? So it was always that anxiety. It was all that in my mind, like, oh, how do I look? How do I look? How do I look? So when I came to the point where I'm tired of this, I don't want to think about this anymore. I just want to go out in public, be free. I want to jump in the ocean, not worry about hair. I love to travel, so I don't want to have to think about, okay, what am I doing with my hair on this trip, right? Like, how do I figure this out? It was always something around hair. So I'm like, okay, I was ready to also get into a new relationship or start dating, not really get into a relationship. I wanted to start dating again. So this had been some time after my husband passed. And I'm like, okay, I want to put myself out there again, but I don't want to put myself out there and I have a wig on and then they see me in person because, I do online dating and, we meet people in public or whatever. So I don't want anybody to meet me with the wig on. And then they see me another time and I don't have this wig on because that's a totally drastic change. So I want to present myself exactly for who I am. And I want to feel confident about that. I want to feel comfortable and I want to be secure by myself. So I started doing little things, taking baby steps. So first, I actually just went ahead and cut my hair low, the hair I had left. I cut it low, and I would use hair fibers to cover up the balding and thinning spots. When I tell you, Pearl, I have some tricks for you to cover up hair loss, I have some tricks, right? So I was doing this, wearing the fibers. So I wore my hair like that just to get comfortable to people's reaction and, just like, okay. Then I started doing things like going out by myself and having lunch and just really getting acclimated to just the shortcut until I was like, all right, I'm ready. Now, when I said I was ready, I still did research because I'm like, okay, if I'm ready to do this, what would make me feel comfortable as a bald woman? So then that's when I went down and I learned about micropigmentation. And I started doing research and looking and seeing, well, what is this and what does this look like? And I was like, I think this is something I want to do. So for anybody who doesn't know, micropigmentation is basically think of it as a almost like a tattoo, but it's hair follicles. Like they tattoo little dots all over your head or your missing bald spots or whatever to make it look like hair follicles or pores or something like that. So everything you see, this is micropigmentation, the hairline, all of this, right? This was the only way I would feel comfortable. It's still bald, but it gives you that illusion that you have like a bald, like fade. If you were a man, you have like a bald, low cut. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to cut my hair off, I'm going to make sure that I feel confident in the way I look, which is the micropigmentation. And then I'm working on my mindset. So that was the other part of it. I had to build myself up. I had to start believing in myself. I had to understand, yes, I'm still beautiful. Even after the micropigmentation, it was still a thing of, okay, let me just look in the mirror and look at myself because you'll be amazed how we just don't really pay attention to ourselves, right? And, you look in the mirror, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, okay. And every day I'm just getting more and more comfortable. I'm going in public. Nobody's even worrying about me at this point. When I go in public now, people are like, you're beautiful. I couldn't cut my hair off like that, but you look good. And I'm like, okay, this is good, and that helped boost me up too. So I really did have to do some mindset work. I mean, there was just a lot of different little tips and processes and things I just did for myself that helped me get through to the point to where I am today. Now I'm like, I'm not going back. And that was in 2019 when I actually officially, adopted this look. So I'm like, I'm not going back. I don't want hair. I even had someone who she specializes in growing your hair back, even if you have scarring alopecia. And she was like, let me work with you. And I'm like, no, I don't want hair.
I think I'm watching you so for the listeners that are listening and or watching on YouTube, to walk us through that, like you quickly walk us through like all those emotions that come with it. And by the way, then with all of this going on, you lose a spouse. I mean, I lost my son 2 years ago. Grieving is like that's overwhelming on top of dealing with everything you're dealing with the hair and those emotions with the hair and then the grieving part of losing your spouse, like all of that coming together and being brave. I mean, like you said, you're in Arizona by yourself. Like I think sometimes what happens, especially I love when I work with my women, is there's something pivotal that happens and we get to that point that we say, I need to work on this stuff right now, or I'm going to go down this rabbit hole and I may not come out of it. Right. And so, and also like, I'm thinking like, as you're talking, it reminded me of a couple of my clients who they think everything happens to me. Right. They have this mindset. Everything happens to me. Everything happens to me. Instead of going, well, this happened, but doesn't have to define me. No matter if it's 10 things can happen to you all at once. I mean, it can happen to you all at one time. And, if you let ourselves like wrap our head into that and not stop and go, okay, what's the one thing I can work on right now? And how do I start? Right. And so that's what you did. Like you actually kind of had to work on two things because you were grieving the loss of your husband, but you're also grieving the loss of your hair. Yeah. Right. I mean, I tell everybody all the time, I'm actually starting to get certified for grief coaching. And so I tell you losses, there's different kinds of losses that we grieve over, whether it's relationships, whether it's our hair, whether it's a loved one. There's different kinds of things that we have lost. So we need to walk through the process of grief with. And like you were showing us that, you had to embrace that. Okay, how am I going to embrace my hair? And I did not know about that the replacement, like that tattoo kind of thing. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I mean, you look beautiful. I would have never known you had that done. So it's really amazing. And then, to embrace that, like hair doesn't have to define me, right? Like it doesn't have to be, because who you are inside is really, like you said, you had to do the inside work to accept the outside look. Yes. Right. And to do that inside work it's really hard stuff, you guys. So like like you said, we don't want to look in the mirror sometimes and admit that, you know what, my life isn't great right now, but I have control of it. I can do things instead of looking in the mirror and going, my life's not great right now, so it just sucks. So let's just go down the sucky wad anyways.
Right.
Like it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage to say, I'm not going to let the suck me anymore. I'm going to do something about it,
Mhm.
and I love that your energy so people that are listening to us, this work that Kellie's done didn't come overnight. Like where she is today, as you share with us, Kellie, like it's hard work. And I'm sure, and I tell people all the time, it doesn't end. It's just like when it comes up differently. Now you've been through some hard stuff. Now I'm like, oh, that's easy compared to like that, for me, I mean, right now things come up. I'm like, that's nothing like losing a child. Like
Right.
that is nothing like losing a child. So bring it to me because if I can live my life with only one of my sons here now, I that doesn't phase me. Like, let's just bring it on. I'm ready for it because I've been, through some
Yeah.
stuff, right? And so I see that with you. I see that energy and I see the work like that you've done. And so now you've done this work and now you said, I want to do more with what I'm doing. I want to share my story. I want to empower others. Where did that when did that show up in your life and what were some of the steps that you did? Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to go back before you answer that question. So you
Mhm.
started dating. Did you find somebody?
Oh, I did, but it was years later, but I did. Yes. As a bald woman, I did find somebody, and that's one thing I tell women. Because they think they can't get a man or I should a partner. I shouldn't say man because whatever.
Right.
But yes, you can still attract a person, a
Yeah.
partner. Yes. Your partner that you are with, they are not going to go anywhere if they truly love you. And if they do go somewhere because of your hair loss, that's not the person for you. So
Yeah.
I really have to put that into women because that is a big thing. I mean, I've literally had a married couple come up to me and in the public, at a festival, just out the blue, because she was experiencing hair loss and thought that her husband wouldn't be attracted to her. And he wanted me to talk to her. So it was just like I have these types of things happen. And that's part of what led me to my work. Because I have these random situations where people just come up to me, men, women, asking me questions. Men might say, well, what do you use on your head? Women are like, you look good. I can't do that. Or I have hair loss too. I even had a cousin who recently just told me she is experiencing hair loss, but she's been covering it up. And I'm like, okay, all right. So people really feel comfortable coming to me because of how I present myself to the world, right? That is what led me down this path of helping women with their hair loss. Now, it was not an easy decision. It was a little voice that kept coming into my ear over the years. And I'm like, nope, nope, I'm not doing that. I am not sharing my story. I am not, But I was like, I have to. I was actually coaching in another space. I was coaching in real estate because that was my skill set. That's what I knew. But I actually have stopped because I'm like, no, I have to focus on this. So it came to the point to where that little voice got really loud. It got loud. And I knew it was like, this is something I have to do. This is something that I feel like is now a purpose because I didn't experience this hair loss for no reason. It happened for a reason. And it happened for me to be able to be in this position to help other women who are not as strong or not as confident to handle this because it's a big deal. Hair loss, when you lose your hair, you're losing part of your identity. So it goes back to that grief. I didn't even realize that it was grief that I was experiencing due to my hair loss until I started coaching in this space. Like, dang, I guess, I should have grieved a little bit more. I should have really kind of took some time with that, but I didn't know. That's why I needed someone like me. you know, Someone who will be like, okay, let's figure this out. What do we need to do to get you to where you need to get to so that you can feel good about yourself? My ultimate goal is just to make sure women are just confident and feel good about themselves and can move forward in life doing whatever it is that they want to do, regardless of hair loss.
And it's so important because I talk all the time. I in my coaching, I actually coach for a nonprofit. There is a group of women that they get to stay at this nonprofit home and to help them get back on their feet. And I tell them all the time, you know, everybody has a story. So we all need to pay it forward with our stories. And I've really been like honing into them, going, when you leave the house, make sure you leave a note for that lady that's going to put her head down on the pillow where you're leaving, because
Mhm.
we all have stories, and we can empower and pour into somebody else with our stories. And it doesn't mean you have to, you can write it as a book, you can just write it as a little note, you can make a journal for yourself and throw it away, but like, tell your story, write your story down, because it's so important to do those things, because it can impact others. And like what you're doing, Kellie, too, I think what's beautiful about it is it's kind of like why I do it, is because we've walked this journey, and we want people to know you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to walk through hair loss. You don't have to walk through of not feeling worthy by yourself. You can get and ask for help. And the whole thing is, I think that's important, is that we ask for help. One of the things I think we missed during COVID is that, we were in such this lockdown. We locked our young kids in this, that elementary age of going to school online for, a year, some places a year and a half, some places 2 years. And
Right.
what we missed is we didn't bring in somebody to teach and educate our students on mental health, on
Mm.
asking for help, on saying, hey, we know you're sitting here in this classroom, you may be feeling this way, or, and you can talk at whatever age group you're talking to. Because, I was sharing this with a friend of mine the other day. We were talking about, all these the kids younger and younger are, having this school stuff happening. And I'm
Mhm.
like, go back to how old what that kid was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, that kid was 7 to 10 years old.
Mhm.
What did we do 4 years ago for them? We talked nothing about mental health. We talked nothing about asking for help when we are feeling, not worthy, or we feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have my hair, so people are going to look at me differently. We don't talk about anything like that. And I think having, if you're listening to us, it doesn't hurt to ask for help,
Yeah.
especially men. I feel like men don't ask for help as often. I think it's getting better, but,
Mhm.
reach out for help, because there's no shame in it. It's very helpful to reach out and say, can you guide me here? And one of the things I like what you did too, when you started dating, what I thought was really cool, because oftentimes, like, I have a couple women I coach that are older, and they want to get in a relationship, and they'll
Mhm.
tell me all the time, like, we'll do things like, oh my God, I showed up and the picture online looks nothing like what they said they're going to do. And I love that
Yep.
you said, I'm going to show up as who I am, because they're going to find out sooner or later, And then also what you said too, especially with that couples came to you and said, am I going to lose a loved one because things are happening, right?
Yes.
And if you do, like you said a beautiful thing. If you do, they're not the right person for you. I use that in my life for so many things, around boundaries, around relationships. I've divorced my parents because of their behavior and their things they bring into my world. It's not
Mhm.
acceptable. And people will say, well, how do you do that? Why would you do that? They're your parents. And I look at them, I go, if this was my husband of 37 years treating me that way, what would you tell me to do? Change
Mhm.
something, do something about it, right? So and we have to be authentic in how we want to approach our life, because we have to have boundaries. And for you to say, I'm going to go out in the dating world again, and I want to show up as who I am, that's powerful. That you did some. So Kellie did some really hard work on herself, you guys. And so
Yeah.
that's what you're helping your clients do now, is help them do that hard work, meet them where they're at, because you understand where they're at. You get it and you see it, you've walked it, right?
Mhm.
And so tell us, like, what does your client what can they expect when they come to work with you? What are some of the things that you do to help meet them where they're at?
Well, first, my programs are individualized. I don't do group programs. And I know the purpose of group programs, but when it comes to hair loss, it's an individual story. Everybody has their own feelings, their own emotions, their own journeys, right? So I only work with people one on one. And the first step is, let's get it out. Because a lot of times women they don't have anyone to talk to about hair loss, because they may not know anybody in their family or in friends or whomever who's experiencing the same thing. So they just need to get it out, get their emotions out, get their feelings out. And that's usually what the first call is. Let's just let it go. Let's just let it go. And this is me listening and hearing them, because that's what they need. Then the next step is, okay, have you really determined or found out what's happening with you? And that's what's causing the hair loss. Because what I had to learn is there are so many things that cause hair loss in women. The simplest things as your nutrition, your hormones, thyroid, all of these things, they can make your hair come out, right? So let's figure out what exactly is happening that's causing your hair to come out. Now, you may have to see a physician, a dermatologist, or you may have to see someone who's specializes in functional medicine, something like that. But let's get down to it. Because once we figure that out, then we can take the next steps of what do we want to do now, right? So if your hair is coming out, for example, due to hormones, well, you can maybe get on some hormone and get some hormone injections or, something that will boost your hormones up that could potentially grow your hair back. So there's things you can do. It's not all lost, right? Your hair you can still save it, right? But for those situations where your hair is not coming back, okay, now we need to deal with that. What do we need to do? What do you want to do? Just like I said, I had to figure out what made me comfortable as a bald woman. What do you want to do? I'm not here to tell women that you have to be bald. So if you want to wear a wig, if you want to wear head wraps or whatever it is you want to do that makes you feel comfortable, then let's start down that journey of figuring that out. Then we also have to do the mindset work. So this is where I had to go get my training because yes, I did my own work on myself, but I needed to go get some more tools to support other women, right? Everyone's different. So that's when I start taking them through different processes so that we can eliminate those negative emotions, that identity tied to their hair, that self-talk, negative self-talk. We got to let that go. So we have to work on that. And that is a bulk of what we do until women get to the point to where they're like, okay, all right, I'm feeling good. I think I'm ready. So then we got to test some stuff out, right? We got to start going in public. We got to go ahead. If you choose to shave your hair off, okay, let's shave it off. How do you feel? Now let's go in public. How do we feel? Like let's try to do some little different things and get used to it so that you can get comfortable and go down that route. So I basically take women through a 90-day program where you go from, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm panicking. I'm insecure. I don't like this, whatever your emotions are, to, all right, I'm good. I feel good about myself. I feel confident about myself. I'm not worried about hair, period. I'm not worried about it. This is what it is. And I'm feeling comfortable to talk about it and share with other people. If they ask me, I will tell them with no problem. That's where I want to get women to.
I love how you like can individualize it. And I love what you're saying. Like, I don't want to do group coaching, right? You know exactly what that jam is for that. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you meet them where they're at and help them work through what they need to work through. And that's important because like you said, sometimes like I do a group coaching on Sunday evening. We get together on from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's called the Shiro League and we do stuff on self-care and everything like that. But then I do the individual coaching because we have to be more like some people don't have different things they need to work on. And
Right.
but with what you're doing, it's so direct, like exactly what they need to work on. So some people are not comfortable in that setting. And like you said, it's all individualized because some people can want to be bald, some want to wear a wig, so that may not be good for the other person. They're kind of sitting there going, so I love that you know exactly your audience, you know exactly who you want to help with, exactly how you want to help them. I think it's really important that if you're listening as a business owner, know your audience, know who you want to help and how you want to help that. I know my business coaches taught me that too, like be very aware of who your audience is because it's so, so important. And
Yeah.
so, I love that you're doing that for everybody. So what's some of I always love to share stories like when I talk with my clients. So tell me the story about one of your favorite, successes. And all my clients are successes, but I always love to share, some big stories that really people have done like a huge pivot in their life, have changed something. So tell me that one client that came to you that maybe reminded you a little bit of yourself and you've helped them grow into becoming the woman they are today. Tell me about that person and tell us a little bit about that journey and how you help them.
Okay. Well, I had a lady who she actually I think she was in her 40s at this point, right? And she was experiencing hair loss. I think she did have alopecia. I got to remember exactly what type, but I don't remember what type of alopecia, but I do remember she had alopecia, right? So she was just like, okay. And she basically, like I was saying, okay, I'm tired now. Like, I think it's something about that 40 mark where you're like, I don't care what people think. I'm ready to be me. So she was just like, okay, I'm ready to just be who I am and step into the world as who I am. Right. So again, we had to start working, and we have very similar backgrounds. She was in real estate. She shared some information about her family background and how she grew up, and it was like very, very, very similar. So I took her through the program, and she is just flourished. She has just flourished. And I think that's the biggest part of my coaching. I love when I work with people and I see the transformation, I see the growth, and I can see the other side, because you get to help somebody better themselves, and
It's
I
such a
don't.
beautiful, it really is, Kelly. It really is such a beautiful thing because it's like, it's like you have this like little, this budding flower that you're pouring all this water into, and to watch them blossom into this beautiful, rose or whatever that flower is for you, to watch them grow into that and be like, they did some hard work. I had the honor of guiding them. Like they're doing the work, And I
Mhm,
have clients that won't do the work and I fire them. Like when you're ready to do the work, I have one client that, I love her to death and she's at this like point in her life. And I'm like, you're at the crossroads. I
mhm,
can't help you anymore till you make the choice. I can't make the choice for you. If you want to go road A, tell me, I'll get you the support. I'll get you the people that you need to help you make those changes in your life. But if you
mhm.
want to do road B, tell me, and I'll help you find a way to have happiness in that life to keep everything the way it is. And until you make that choice, I can't break the shackles, right? I have
Right.
to. You're shackling yourself in your life. But when you get that client that says, "Oh my gosh, Kelly, thank you so much. Like you've inspired me. You've helped me find who I am within. You've pushed me to do some really hard work that I'm embracing who I am today."
Mhm.
It's so rewarding. It's like if I'm, that's one of the things I often ask my clients. I'm like, what are you doing to say yes to yourself? Because when you don't, you're always going last. And somebody's going to slide into your job. Somebody's going to step forward into business like what we do and help them. Somebody's going to learn how to cook for your family at home because you're not there anymore. They'll figure out how to do laundry because you're not there anymore. It's like, what are you doing for yourself? Because if tomorrow doesn't come, and all I can ask your family and friends to say is what they saw you do for yourself. And if 10 people can't think of 10 different things, then we need to talk because, you're not leaving a legacy. You're not putting yourself first. And when you finally get that through to a client and you embrace it as yourself too, it's so amazing to watch what happens. It's so amazing to see, wow, they know I can walk in a room with no hair and I can command the room and
Yeah.
not be worried what everybody's saying. I can walk into a room and be like, I'm gonna tell you no, I don't want to help you with that. I'm gonna go do this for myself. And it's such a beautiful and wonderful thing. And when we start walking into like what you do and what I do is really about self-care. It's like taking care of self and honoring what our body is and honoring what we look like on the outside and doing the stuff on the inside so we can honor and love the outside of us too. And it's amazing. And I love it's like I keep saying throughout this show, I love your smile and your joy with it. I think
Thank
it's
you.
yeah, I think it's so amazing that, because you've done the work and you want people to learn from what you've done. You want to empower. And so, if for some reason we don't have you with us tomorrow, Kelly, I know you've done the work. I know your clients be like, she helped me. I can walk in a room and I can go without a wig, or I can walk in a room and enjoy the wig I'm wearing, whatever that is for them to show up and embrace who they are on the inside now from the outside. I think it's an amazing, amazing thing. So tell people how they can find you. Tell people how they reach out to you.
Okay, well, you can go to my website. It is www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com. So you can go on there and check that out. I have a authenticity analysis that I give to people for free. So you can just pop in, answer some questions, and I will send you a video about your authenticity, maybe what you need to work on, or if you're good, if you're okay. I'm like, hey, keep going, right? Keep doing the good things. But if you need some help, then I'm there to share that with you. So definitely check out the website. I'm also on social media if you guys want to check out my little post. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook under Miss Kellie Michelle. You can find me there, and I provide a lot of information just about hair loss. I share my own stories. I call them my Baldy Chronicles, my stories from when I, first cut my hair off and all of the experiences. So check it out.
That is so cool. All right, so now we have a few minutes left. I want to know I'm all about self-care. I'm all about learning to do things for yourself. And oftentimes like people ask me, Pearl, self-care, it's selfish. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not selfish. You can actually do self-care with a loved one. Like if you're listening to us and you have little ones at home, you can watch a crazy old little cartoon with your little one, and that's self-care. One of the things I used to do is go have pizza or go to movies with my younger son Nate, and with my older son, we would go and get mani-pedis together, and and have fun, and we would have fun conversations at either one of them. And so, Kelly, what is something you like to do for your self-care? What's something fun you like to do?
Ooh, something fun I like to do. And I feel like I haven't been having as much fun as I used to. And I'm trying to get back into that. So I can tell you recently, I have been spending more time with friends and family doing group activities. Because, we're all so busy. We have our kids, we have life, and all of the things. So being able just to get together once a month and do a good group activity and just enjoying ourselves, whether we have the kids or not, that's to me is self-care as well. So I've been enjoying having fun, laughing, and just enjoying my people.
I love that you're getting back and doing all that. That is so amazing. Which goes back to saying, self-care is not selfish. We can do it with those. And actually you're teaching them too. Hey, come on. You're pulling them with you to go, let's do some things together. I love that. All right. So I did tell Kelly that we're going to do our better questions, better life. So we're going to shuffle the cards, and Kelly's going to tell me when to stop. So let me just get them here ready for you, Kelly. And then you tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Oh, she went way deep. All right. What is your genius?
Ooh. My genius is taking complex things and simplifying them. I know that's a genius. That's a gift of mine. That's like something that has always been in my life in some form or fashion. Taking something that's complicated and simplifying it.
That is so give us an example of something.
Okay, so when I was in the corporate world, I would do things like if I started a job and I was the only person in that role, and you know how they'll hand down whatever the other person was doing. I would sit there and like read through all of it. Yeah, we're revamping all of this, and I will revamp a whole training and like rewrite it and make it so easy that it's just easy peasy, like step by step. I like to do stuff like that. I like to organize. I like to just make steps. I like to do all of those things. So
That's so cool.
yeah, I
That's
don't
a
know where
great
it comes
genius to
from,
have. That's awesome. I
but
love
I
that.
like it.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Well, this has been a lot of fun. We're out of time. I loved having you on the show, Kelly. We're going to put in the show notes where you guys can reach Kelly. Make sure you leave us a review on the podcast platforms. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe below and leave us a little review and share out the story. And if you want to learn more about how to work with myself, you can go to wsliving.com and learn more there. But I just want to remind you guys again, life is hard. Things will be thrown at us. You never know what's going to come our way, what's going to make us have to look at our outside a little differently when working on our inside. But when you do that rough oyster that you're working on and you start opening up inside, you're going to find your inner pearl to greatness. And I hope today you go out and find that inner pearl to greatness. Kelly, thanks so much for spending the time with us.
And thank you for having me.